I'm going to demonstrate how to crochet a mini pumpkin. If you want to follow along, you can grab some orange and brown yarn, a 5mm crochet hook, embroidery needle, stitch marker, and scissors. There's a time-stamped pattern in the description below. We'll create the stem of the pumpkin by creating double crochets into a magic ring and then working rounds of front post double crochets. We'll grab brown yarn and create a magic ring by placing the tail over our non-dominant hand and wrapping the working end behind and then up and over the tail end. Using our hook, we'll go under the top strand, grab the outside top strand, pull and twist, and create a loop to secure our magic ring. Our pattern for round 1 reads for us to chain 3, and then perform 8 double crochets into the magic ring. Once we yarn over, we'll insert our hook into the ring, capturing both the ring and the tail as we yarn over and pull up a loop. Then we'll yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And work 7 more double crochets into the magic ring. I'll pull the tail end to decrease the size of the magic ring and perform a slip stitch into the top of the chain 3 to finish round 1. Round 2 begins by chaining 2, and we'll do a front post double crochet in each of the stitches around. So once we yarn over, we'll insert the hook from front to back, back to front, around the post of the double crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yarn over, insert front to back, back to front, around the post of the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, then yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And continue with front post double crochets around in each of the double crochets and the chain 3 stitch. The round finishes with a slip stitch into the top of the chain 2. You can see the ridges begin to form, and you can repeat that pattern for rounds 3 and 4, doing a front post double crochet in each of the stitches around, and finish with a slip stitch into the chain 2. The pattern begins with a foundation chain of 16 stitches. I'm going to turn the foundation chain so the V part of the chain is underneath, and I'm going to work my stitches into the front loop of those V's. I'll walk you through how to do each of the stitches for the first couple rows. The pattern for row 1 starts by chaining 1. That's the first chain of this row, so I'm going to do a slip stitch into the front loop of the second chain from the hook. And to do the slip stitch, I insert the hook into the chain, yarn over, and pull through all loops. Then I do a single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So I insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and repeat. Single crochet, insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Then a half double crochet in the next 3 chains. I'll yarn over, insert my hook into the next chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Again, half double crochet, yarn over, insert the hook into the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Once more, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Now a double crochet in the next 4 chains. For the double crochet, I'll yarn over, insert my hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, then I yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Repeating, yarning over, inserting my hook, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling through 2 loops, yarning over, pulling through 2 loops. Double crochet in the next 2 stitches because I have 2 more to do. Then I'm going to work a half double crochet in the next 3 stitches, remembering to yarn over, insert the hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Then I do a single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So insert my hook, I yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and I repeat that into the next stitch. And I'll finish row 1 by doing a slip stitch into the final stitch. And now I'm ready for rows 2. And row 2 through 24 are going to be the same. I am going to work into the front loop only for each of my stitches. That'll help me create the ridging of the pumpkin. And I'm going to stack my stitches on top of each other. And notice how the stitches increase in height towards the center and then decrease in height towards the end. And that'll help us make the pumpkin so it fills out in the middle, and then at the bottom and at the top of the pumpkin, the stitches will be a lower height, and that'll help make it the pumpkin shape. I'll walk you through the first couple rows, and then you can continue on with the pattern. The rows begin by doing a chain, 1 chain, and then slip stitching into the front loop of the slip stitch. I recommend once you do that slip stitch to then mark the back loop of it, because when you turn it around and you have to do the slip stitch into the front, you'll know where to go. Then a single front loop only single crochet into the next 2 single crochets. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Front loop only half double crochet in the next 3 half double crochets, noticing that we're just capturing that front loop. Yarning over, inserting the hook under the front loop only, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling through all 3 loops. Four double crochets on top of the next 4 double crochets, yarning over, inserting the hook under the front loop only, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling through 2, yarning over, pulling through 2. Then a front loop only half double crochet into the next 3 half double crochets, yarn over, insert the hook under the front loop only, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling through all 3 loops. Front loop only single crochet in the next 2 single crochets, inserting the hook under the front loop, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling through 2 loops, and finishing the rows with a slip stitch into the front loop of the slip stitch. Already starting to see the shape of the pumpkin form. I'll walk you through one more row. You turn your work, chain 1, find the slip stitch, and then we'll slip stitch into the front loop of it, marking the back loop to help us figure where to finish the rows. Front loop only, single crochet in the next 2 single crochets, front loop only half double crochet in the next 3 half double crochets. Front loop only double crochet in each of the next 4 double crochets. half. Front loop only half double crochet in the next 3 half double crochets. Front loop only single crochet in the next 2 single crochets. And finishing with a slip stitch, and I marked my stitch so I'm able to tell which loop to do my slip stitch into. So you can work the pattern for the pumpkin, rows 2 through 24, and pause the video, and I'll show you how to begin to put the pumpkin together. Once you finish crocheting the pumpkin and the stem, we are going to sew them together. We'll sew the pumpkin together down the sides and around the bottom, and then back up the side to the top, and then we'll sew the stem onto the top. Our pumpkin pattern is reversible, meaning there's no wrong or right side, and I'm going to sew the sides of the pumpkin together by using my embroidery needle to weave the inside of the stitches together. I've used a stitch marker to mark my first single crochet of the rows so I know where to begin. If I know where to begin, I'm likely to line up the stitches correctly. I'll sew together the inside of the stitches down the pumpkin to the bottom of the pumpkin, and along the bottom of the pumpkin I want to use the embroidery needle to sew the stitches together. So I'll go from the inside to outside of the pumpkin, skipping a few stitches in between each pass. And as I start to pull the tail taut, I will close up the bottom of the pumpkin. Once the center bottom of the pumpkin is taut, you can flip the pumpkin so what was the inside becomes the outside. And you can sew up the seam once more. Aligning the stitches, and sew up along the seam. Securing the seam of the pumpkin to the stem, you can stuff the pumpkin through the top with fiber fill before you complete sewing the pumpkin together. Trying to stuff the pumpkin with just the right amount of stuffing. You can shape the pumpkin as you stuff. And then we'll just place the stem of the pumpkin in the opening of the top. I'll actually put the tails of the stem into the stem. The front post double crochet helps give the stem body, so I won't put any fiber fill in the stem. I'll insert it into the center, and now as I sew up the top of the pumpkin, like with the bottom, I will skip a few stitches between each sew, and I'm going to capture that the top of my last round of my stem, and I'll pull it taut, so again skipping a few stitches, and when I go back, making sure to capture the top of my double crochets from my last round. Once I've closed up my pumpkin at the top, I can sew the tail end from top to bottom to help give the pumpkin a more compact shape. So I would just insert my needle at the top, putting it through to the bottom. Creating a little tension, and then bringing the needle from the bottom to the top. If I put the needle through close to where it came out, I won't have any strands showing. So I'll repeat this technique for a few repetitions. Once I've shaped my pumpkin, I will simply cut the end of the yarn, because I've woven it through enough, it's pulled tight. And I can even shape it further. This video demonstrated how to crochet a mini pumpkin. I will include timestamps in the video's description so you can re-watch any part of the video you would like.